Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'Shem, Yahweh Shai Ba'Shem, Makar Kadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely, and shalom to the Akim, scattered through the four corners of the globe, that be like unto the speckled bird, preaching the word truthfully and sincerely. I say shalom to you, Akim, out there. And this is a sit-down lesson for In the News on September the 7th, 2022, 11:58 p.m. Central Standard Time on this Wednesday night. And the highlight of this news article, and it reads from the Associated Press. It says Japan, India holds security talks amid major Russian drills. And this is by Marie Namagarashi, if I pronounced that right. And this is posted about 24 minutes ago. And it says Japan and India are holding security talks Thursday between their foreign and defense ministers in Tokyo, seeking to further strengthen their military ties, amending the growing tensions from China and Russia in the region. Japanese Defense Minister Yakuza Hamamada met with India counterpart Rana Singh before they joined foreign ministers of Yashimasa Hayashi and the Subramana Jawaharlal at the security talks later in the day. Japan and India held their first 2+2 security talks since 2019. The meeting comes at a sensitive time when Russia is holding a major multinational military exercise in its Far East, with China and India participating. Tokyo has protested to Moscow about its including Russia-held disputes island over, with Japan claiming sovereignty. Japan is also raising grave concern about the naval shooting drills joint held by Russia and China off Japan's northern coast over the weekend. It says foreign minister officials said Japan has warned India against joining drills set on the disputed islands, that the India troops were participating only in ground exercise of the areas. It says Japanese foreign minister officials said Wednesday that Japan wants to step up joint military drills and cooperation in developing and transferring of military equipment technology with India. Japan hopes to extend military equipment transfers to back up its frugal defense industry at the current ties to booster ties military capability and spending as deterioration to growing threats from China, Russia, and North Korea. Japan and India are discussing joint development of unmanned ground vehicles technology. Japan officials said Japan early plans to sell landing planes to India has been held up, particularly by the cost. Japan also wants to reform India support in the promotion a free and open Indo-Pacific vision that Japan promotes with the United States as part of the Quad framework that also includes Australia as a counter to China's exertions in the region. Associated Press, Chaisto Tanka contributed to this report. So yeah, That's what you've been seeing more joint exercise drills, more military drills, more ground troop drills, more simulation type drills, more war games, training, and these are increasing. And you have allies are doing security ties with one another, exchanging military gear, exchanging military cooperation, exchanging technology, operations, etc. You name it. So, and then, with the rising tensions with the other nations increasing as nations do security talks and military cooperations with one another. So these things are going to increase more and more and more in the latter days, What these nations are increasingly, some of them cooperative with one another, with being allies with one another to go on against the other nations as they look as a potential threat to them. That's why you're having these nations start to increase more and more with their military equipment for military training, for military cooperations between the nations. More alliances are starting to be created between the nations. That's why you're starting to see the nations should rise against nations. Now you're gonna have like 2 or 3 nations going against the other 3 or 4 nations. You're gonna have that increase in the latter days as well too. So it's not only just gonna be one nation going against another nation. You might have 2 or 3 or 4 nations that's cooperative with one another to going against other nations that's teaming up with one another. And they look at them as the adversary. So that's why you're seeing all these military drills. All these nations are purchasing military capabilities from their potential alliance partner to go against their adversaries as well too. So these things are definitely increasing now more than ever. As you see right here, you have Japan and India holding security talks, amending Russia drills. So these things are definitely increasing, I'm going to bring out the Book of Joel, 3 and 9. As you see the increase of military drills, joint exercise drills, simulation type drills, simulation attack type drills on their adversaries of the nations increasing against one another, of nations doing military allegiance, cooperations with one another against the other nations as well too. As look at them as a potential adversary. These nations got they disputing over islands, they disputing over many different things. If it's from a political standpoint, from an economical standpoint, it can be being many different things as the nations go at each other on many different issues of many disputes. That's why you're having these increase of these nations rising up against nations and increase of security and stability. As you see, India and Japan have those security talks as the Russia drills about to take place, military exercise drills. This is the Book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 9. Proclaim ye this amongst the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty man. Let all the men of war draw near and let them come up. Right, because that's what you've seen. Yahweh Shemel Shai is stirring up these nations to be in that war type tactic spirit, because these are the times that we're living in, For like the scripture says, I believe in Ecclesiastes 3 and 8. For there's a time in the season, a time to talk, and a time of war. So we are definitely in a time of war. That's why you're seeing upwars of the people in the world, nations rising up against nations. It can be in many different categories, from an economical standpoint, from a military standpoint, of and other political standpoints as well too. Or it could be a warlike standpoint, a verbal standpoint, and it's gonna get to a physical standpoint as well too. So that's why you're starting to see an increase of military buildup of the nations creating their nuclear enrichment capability, which is Iran doing, reported by the UN security watchdog. You see that, keeping an eye on that as well too, with the situation with the Iran of the 2015 nuclear deal. And then you got the tensions between the Israel and Palestinian thing. That's an ongoing, continuing conflict between the nations. So a lots that's going on around the world, which is biblical prophecies, because these are the signs of the times of that we are in. But back to the main focus on, you're gonna see more military exercise drills to increase more of the nations being security ties, military ties between the nations that are close allies with one another. They've been allies with one another for quite some time. To going against the other group of nations that's allies as well too. So these things are definitely increasing, especially with the South China Sea thing, what the tensions increasing between Beijing and Washington, the United States and China over Taiwan, near the Taiwan Strait, military activities and nations monitoring one another of activities, watching each other moves, because you got Japan stationed down there, you got Beijing, you got China in the mainland island, and Taiwan as well too. And then you might have a potential invasion of Taiwan, because China is building up its military. They've been doing there for the past month, in the last 3 or 4 weeks, an increase of military presence, military training, full increase in military training and build up. Their potential preparation of invading Taiwan. As you see, the United States gave Taiwan that military, a huge military assistance of 1.9 or 1.19 billion in military aid, just like the United States did. Continue to send money and military equipment over there in Ukraine with the current Russia-Ukraine thing that's going on. So these things are definitely going to increase in the latter days. This is the book of Joel, chapter 3, verse 10. Beat your plowshares and swords and plenty hooks and the spears, and let the weak say I'm strong, right? Because that's what you're seeing, these nations doing these military capabilities, these nations having high increased cooperations and military cooperations and agreements with one another, just like you seen a few days ago with South Korea, Japan, and the United States having a full agreement with one another on finding ways to stop North Korea with its nuclear capability. And then you having Israel and the United States trying to find ways to stop Iran with their nuclear capability as well too. So you got a lot of things going on between the nations from a military standpoint, an economical standpoint, a political standpoint, and many other issues as well too. So these are the signs of times of living in, because so much different things that are taking place on the planet Earth. Because these are biblical prophecy times that we're living in. And bring out Matthews 24:6. And this is the book of Matthew, chapter 24, verse 6. And when ye shall hear of wars and rumors of wars, see that ye be not troubled, for all these things must come to pass, but the end is not yet. Right? Because the end is not yet, because more of these prophecies are definitely going to take place on the planet Earth, and we are definitely approaching that, with the rumors of wars increasing. That's why you're seeing a lot of, like I mentioned before a few times, I was, mentioning again, the increase of these nations cooperating with one another, joint alliance against the other nations. As you see the nations rising up against other nations, kingdom against other kingdoms as well too. The wars and rumors of wars. Uh, there's going to be times where on an everyday basis, as it increase more and more and more in the news of these rumors of wars just being a rumor, might not be 100% true story. It just might be just a rumor of war, and then these rumors of wars are gonna come in reality. Is gonna be real as well too, and nations rising up against nations, kingdom against kingdoms as well too. So these things are definitely gonna continue to take place in the current times that we're living in. So with that, I hope this sit-down lesson was edifying through the spirit, power, grace, and mercy of Yahweh Yahushua. And first and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor to Yahweh Ba'ashem, Yahushua, Ba'ashem, Bakakadash. Double honors to the elders and apostles of Great Millstone, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, scattered through four corners of the globe, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. And shalom to the Akim, that be like unto the speckled bird, pushing the word truthfully and sincerely. And until next time, I will say shalom and a ball.